Hello, friends. We all know that many modern leaders fall into the dangerous cycle dwelling onto specific outcome that leads to the attachment. Attachment fuels intense desire, and when those desires aren't met, it results in the kind of frustration and anger that destroys the boardroom culture and the strategic clarity. How we can avoid it? Let's turn towards Bhagavad Gita Insight, which is 7,000 year old, chapter 2, verse 62. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to the crucial conversation for every leader, every CEO, every founder striving for excellence. Today, we are going to talk about something incredibly powerful yet often overlooked, a force that can silently, almost, without any remorse, sabotage even the most brilliant strategies. We are calling it the CEO's silent killer. How attachment sabotages your strategy. And our guide is, for this journey isn't the modern business guru, but an ancient text, a timeless source of wisdom, the Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 2, verse 62. So in English, it translates to quote starts while contemplating the objects of senses, a person developing attachment for them, and for such attachment, lust, which is like intense desire, is born, and from the lust, anger arises. Now, you might be thinking, what does an ancient spiritual text have to do with my quarterly reports, my market share, or my team's performance? The answer may lie here, and my friends, and this is everything. The single verse written thousands of years ago outlines a psychological chain reaction that is so relevant to the modern boardroom as it was in the ancient battlefield. Let's break down this powerful sequence. First, contemplation of sense object, which means in the context of a CEO, sense objects aren't just physical pleasures, they are the target, the outcomes, the narratives we build in our mind. It is the multi-million dollar acquisition, the flawless product launch, hitting that aggressive growth target, securing that specific client, or even the public perception of your leadership. We spend countless hours and, rightly so, contemplating these goals. We visualize success. This contemplation, while necessary for planning, is where the seed of attachment can be sown. Second, development of the attachment. When we dwell exclusively on these objects or the outcome, we begin to form an emotional bond with them. We don't just want the acquisition, we become attached to the idea of our company making that acquisition. We just don't aim for the growth target. We become attached to the idea of our team achieving that specific number, perhaps because of its means of our bonus, our reputation, or our legacy. The attachment is subtle. It feels like commitment, like a drive, but there is a crucial difference. Commitment focuses on the process and effort, while attachment is fixated on the specific outcome, irrespective of evolving circumstances. Third is the birth of the intense desire. In Sanskrit, this is known as kama. From this attachment, intense desire or the kama is born. This isn't an healthy ambition, it's a craving, a strong, almost desperate need for that outcome to manifest exactly as we have envisioned it. This desire can become all consuming, overshadowing rational thought and objective assessment. Imagine a CEO negotiating a critical deal, and if they are attached to closing this specific deal at any cost, their intense desire will blind them to red flags, make them overlook better alternatives, or lead them to concede too much. Their strategy shift from objective evolution to desperate pursuits. Fourth is arising of anger or Frustration. So in Sanskrit, this is known as krodh, which is anger. And here is a silent killer part. When the intensely desired, deeply attached to the outcome doesn't materialize or doesn't materialize exactly as you planned, what happens? Frustration, resentment, anger. This isn't just a personal emotional outburst. In a CEO, this anger or the frustration can manifest in devastating ways. Things like rash decisions, lashing out, firing people prematurely, abandoning a viable strategy too soon. And then next is blame game. You know, externalizing failure instead of learning from it. Burnout. The emotional toll of constantly chasing unfulfilled desire is immense, leading to fatigue and poor judgment. Damaged culture. A leader operating from a place of frustration creates a toxic environment for their team, stifling innovation and trust. Sabotage strategy. The original well thought out strategy got derailed by the emotional reactivity, lack of objectivity, or an inability to pivot gracefully. Think about it. How many brilliant strategies have been undermined not by the external competition but by the internal emotional turmoil stemming from the attachment? A founder attached to their original product vision that they ignore market feedback and pivot too late. A CEO as so attached to specific growth target, they pushed unsustainably and because of the bad practices, leading to long term damage. A leader so attached to particular employees performance that they fail to make necessary tough decisions for the team's good. I think we know all this. There are favored employees everywhere in every company. So what is the solution? Gita doesn't advocate for apathy or lack of ambition. Quite the contrary, it teaches strategic detachment. This is not about not caring, it's about caring deeply about the process, the effort, and the values, while remaining flexible and objective about the outcome. And here is how the modern leaders can cultivate strategic detachment inspired by the ancient wisdom. First, focus on the process, not the price. Shift your mental energies from constantly visualizing the win to meticulously perfecting the game. Focus on building robust system, empowering your teams, fostering innovation, and delivering constant value, which is consistent to your vision as well. The outcome becomes a natural consequence of exceptional processes. Second, embrace flexibility and adaptability. Understand that the market, technology, and human behavior are constantly changing. Your strategy must be, like a living document, not a rigid decree. When you are attached from a specific outcome, you're free to you're detached basically to a specific outcome. You're free to pivot, iterate, and even abandon a failing path without ego or anger. Third is cultivate emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Regularly check in with your own emotions. When you feel that the intense craving, that burning desires, or that rising frustration, please pause. Ask yourself, am I reacting from a place of attachment or from objective strategic assessment? Mindfulness practice, even just 5 minutes a day, can dramatically increase this self-awareness. Fourth, define your why beyond the specific outcome. Why are you leading this company? What problem are you solving? What value are you creating? When your purpose is deeply rooted in something larger than a single deal or a specific revenue number, you gain resilience. If one path closes, your deeper why empowers you to find another equally impactful route. Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 62 isn't just philosophy, it's a pragmatic guide to sustained leadership. By understanding how contemplation leads to attachment, which fuels desire, and ultimately culminate in frustration and anger. We can disarm the CEO's silent killer. We can move from being slaves to our desire to master of our strategy, leading with clarity, resilience, and true wisdom. Friends, thanks for joining me live today. I encourage you to reflect on where attachment might be subtly influencing your decisions. The future of strategy and your peace of mind may well depend on it. If you want, you can let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you again in the next one.